Welcome to another episode of the Climb Podcast. My guest is Zie Prepares, competitor in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate from Lafayette, Louisiana, competitor for Last Stock Gaming, and currently ranked number 2 in Louisiana. I've known Zie for about 4 years, and I've watched his progress from having small local success in Smash 4 to being a state and regional standout in Smash Ultimate. Please follow Zie and Last Stock Gaming at the links below. Did you watch that Project M video that I linked in the chat a couple weeks ago?
What was it about?
Oh, it was me in my glory days.
Wait. Oh, you mean yes. I think I watched. I don't know if I watched it in its entirety, but I watched I think I watched some of the beginning and then I skipped to the end of the set. It was versus that Ike player, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
You didn't watch the whole thing. You missed out all my teleport cancels. I'm pretty much the prototype of you.
Really? Okay. Because I was trying to look for, because you were back in my glory days, so I was trying to look for it, but I guess it was in the middle of the set because the set ended with NSD or whatever, so I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it's crazy how Project M, it feels like it's a slow game, but it's not. It looks like a slow game, but you just go 0 to 10 real quick.
Yeah.
0 to 100 real quick. So it's pretty interesting. I guess whenever I played Brawl, I didn't have too many inspirations. I was actually trained by a Canadian from Alberta, Canada, named Killlock online on Wi-Fi.
Huh.
So he's the one that taught me Smash, or he taught me how to go about playing competitive Smash. And then what PM, right. I watched Emo Killer and Mewtwo King, and that's what kind of transitioned me into playing Mewtwo for Project M. What got you into playing Smash?
Well, I think when I was younger, I just ended up playing it with friends. I want to say the first Smash game I played that I have vivid memories of was playing Brawl with 2 of my young childhood friends. But I was definitely old enough to where I could start feeling my competitive vibe. So when I would play that game with them, I would play a bunch of games with them, but when I play Smash with them, it's a fighting game, so I'd want to start I'm can we play serious now? And then when I want to start playing seriously, they wouldn't want to play. And so I started watching YouTube videos and seeing oh wow, because I was I this is just a Nintendo game, whatever. They probably don't have a competitive scene for it. But then I saw Mewtwo King and all these different people playing, and I'm that's what I want to do. So I'd probably say getting into Smash competitively, as far as being aware of it, probably 12 or 11.
So you weren't a Melee kid, a Melee documentary kid?
No, I was not. It's funny because if I would have been aware, because I guess I wasn't aware of the Brawl scene, because I would have loved to play Brawl, and I believe by the time I started playing Melee, Brawl had been out or whatever, and it was it was in its competitive scene or whatever, and I think I just ended up seeing Melee more so because I guess it was more popular. But yeah, so obviously I wasn't playing Melee within the first years that it came out, but I was honestly I probably played Melee the most during Brawl's peak.
Yeah, because I remember I think the first game that we played was Melee. I think in late 2015, early 2016.
Yes, exactly. I remember.
Because I was gone that entire summer of 2015. I think you started playing around then, right?
Yeah, that's when I started because I had went to there was this tournament. It wasn't a local, or it wasn't a weekly or anything, but I think there was this tournament at Acadiana Lanes or whatever, and it was a one-off event. It wasn't like I said, a weekly. And me and one of my friends, Cody, went, and we didn't do that well, but we had so much fun because it had PM and Melee there, and we played both at the time. But yeah, it was around that time that I was going to events. But by the time we had played, I already kind of been playing, because I remember, I forgot what his tag was, but I remember meeting someone on Anthers Ladder, and it showed you the location of the person on Anthers Ladder, and I saw they were from Koto, which was really close to where I was living. I'm what the heck? I've never seen someone from Louisiana before. And so after we played, he was oh, you're pretty good. You should come to our bi-weeklies or whatever that we have at this place called Smitty's Wings. And so I started getting my mom to bring me do these weeklies that would rotate between like PM and Melee, and that's like how I like started playing competitive.
Yeah, I wonder who that would be then. I guess I'll figure that out and I'll let you know. Um, yeah, because it was pretty interesting at that time. I think 2014 was when like our scene was completely revived, I guess, because Brawl was kind of like fading away into
Hmm.
obscurity in a way. And then the old Melee guys like came back. They're like, let's try to revive this. I guess primarily, I don't know if it's because of the documentary. I don't remember the timeline,
Hmm.
but it was an interesting mix of like Melee to Brawl, and then to try to get like more people involved in the scene. So we'd had like these round robins at my friend's place, and we'd get like 20 in between like 20 to 30 people
Hmm.
uh, for this, and it built up. We had like the revival Lafayette tournaments, and then like it led into the weeklies at the bowling alley. We got kicked out of the bowling alley,
Yeah.
like maybe like once or twice, and then it all kind of went from there. I know that's how
Hmm.
the Smash Four scene kind of came into to fruition. In that aspect, I know like we briefly were together for maybe like 2 3 months, and then it just kind of split off.
Right,
So
right.
whenever, I guess, what made you go down more like the Smash Four route compared to the Melee?
So, I actually believe my first Smash 4 tournament was a Lust event, if I remember correctly. I think Smash 4 came out like pretty recently, and I was playing it for fun with my friend Cody that I mentioned, and but we were both like playing Melee and PM still, and we were like, oh, like we're not sure how like competitive Smash 4 is gonna be, but like it's fun, so we'll just like play on the side. And then I specifically remember I was the lust that I was going to was like a day or two after this point that I'm about to mention, and I was just playing around like online, like on For Glory, whatever. And like I think before that lust, I was maining like Diddy Kong or something like that. So like, well, like I didn't know how broken he was, whatever. But I remember playing Fox and For Glory. And I'm like, dang, this character is really fun. I'm gonna play Fox at Lust because like I was like mostly practicing for Smash 4 for Lust since like I thought I was like pretty good at Melee already, and I didn't need to practice as much to get to that point with Smash 4. But like once I got to Lust, I like practiced solely Smash 4, and then I'm not sure what bracket was first, but I remember like the only time ever in like all of history of me entering bracket for Smash, I believe I went 0-2 in Melee, and then I got top. I think I got fifth actually, fifth or seventh at the Lust for Smash 4. I remember playing Combo, who's like now one of my good friends, and he's like super good, and he like destroyed me. So like that motivated me so hard to make the decision between like Melee and Smash 4. I'm like like even after playing Melee all this time, I haven't got to, I guess, where I want to be, but like I could see myself getting to that point with Smash 4. And so once the Melee weeklies and the Smash 4 weeklies were in the same venue, I was like, I'll give the Smash 4 one a try, and I'll see where it leads, and then I guess the rest was history.
Yeah, you mentioned, I guess, Louisiana Smash. I guess in general, um, so our scene, I guess, is pretty small in Louisiana. I guess it's so fragmented because our major cities, at least in southern Louisiana, are at least an hour to 2.5 hours away from each other. And
Right.
this is not counting North Louisiana, which is, I guess, three
Much.
hours away.
Yeah,
it's
even
a
further. Yeah.
it's another state away, effectively. So I guess what I want to ask is, what are the difficulties for I guess this sort of like smaller scene to represent itself on a national level? Because as you go along, I obviously know you, so I'm able to keep up with the the amount that you go to different competitions. But
Hmm.
whenever you put it into context, you do a lot of traveling per week and per month. I guess
Yeah.
as you got into Smash Four, and then obviously leading into Ultimate, and this is like
Hmm.
4 years worth of work right now that you've put
Yeah.
into. So I guess first talk about like how much traveling you do per week out pre-pandemic, um, to go to like these different tournaments.
So yeah, so like at first I basically just stayed in Lafayette because like I didn't have a car, and even when I did, like I first got it, like I could my mom only wanted me to stay in Lafayette, but like once me and my mom were like comfortable with me like leaving Lafayette, and like at the peak of my traveling, I would basically be going to because we would have like each different region like NOLA and BR and Laffy have like weeklies on their different days. So like there would be some days where I would go to upwards of like 4 to 5 weeklies, which like that's like 2 NOLA weeklies, which is 8 hours total of driving for two NOLA weeklies. I'd be going to a BR weekly, sometimes two, so that's either 2 or 4 hours, and then I'd be going to a Laffy weekly, which is it's just like 10 minutes or whatever. So like just travel time for weeklies within my own state, it could be like 10 to 14 hours.
Jeez. And that's like, I guess, I wouldn't say it's just like a, how do I phrase it? It's so weird because you could put like all that amount of time in like either practice or at least something else. Right? You're pretty much spending almost a full day or nearly close to half a day just traveling. And it's crazy when you compare us to like other big scenes to where like Dallas, for example, they literally have like 5 weeklies. They have a weekly a day, and then they have like their own majors, and it's crazy to see like what they can do compared to what we can do. To represent yourself on a national level. I think your last majors in 2020 before the pandemic were Frostbite, where you got 97th, and then CEO Dreamland, which was the real pandemic starting, right?
Yeah, that was when we started. That was the first tournament that I started doing fist bumps with my elbow. That's when I knew it was going to be real.
and that was 65th. And Smash Ultimate is such a matchup heavy game. So what do you think like the challenges are whenever you go compete against, I guess, other people on a national basis, utilizing like the talent that we have here?
Okay, well, as far as like challenges are concerned, one thing I always have to deal with is that I play a common character, so like everyone's gonna know my matchup. Two, I have to deal with like people in Louisiana have to deal with the fact that like the good players in the scene are not always able to travel, because like most of the good players in the scene for a while did not have their own car and basically like relied on people like getting rides, whatever. So like even like I might have like a few top tiers in my scene that are played by good players, but I might not be able to get even that much experience with those people because I don't get to see them that often. So like only having high level experience with like a couple matchups every so often, as well as playing a common character, as well as some days I might not be willing to like travel 4 hours for like a weekly with like 17 people. So like it really just comes down to like I guess how bad I want it, because like I could also play Wi-Fi, but like there's players that are already better than me that are getting even better practice that is like offline. So like a lot, like from what I've learned is like a lot of the Louisiana players that are really good just have to put in like that much more effort to like catch up, and I think we've done a good job at it. But I feel like it showed with our results in Smash 4 like out of state, because I mean I feel like C Falcon and I and like other Louisiana players were like really good in Smash 4, but like we were known for not being that good, and we never got like regions, or we never got results like out of region or out of state. I mean, like C Falcon went to game 3 last hit with a top 5 player at the time at like a Smash 4 major. So like obviously we had the potential, but like we really didn't get to show it off much due to like lack of opportunities compared to other scenes.
Yeah, I remember I guess back in the day, Jogo Guy called us out before a tournament. He's like, yeah, these Louisiana guys suck. Like on stream, I think it was like it might have been like Melee It on me. And he's like, yeah, these guys suck. And so I approached him in like the bathroom at Super Smash Bros. I was like, dude, what's going on? Why'd you call us out? He's like, oh, you guys just don't travel. That's the only thing I was getting at, and he's true.
Right.
You look at like a lot of players. The only notable ones that I can think of that have traveled and done well would have been like Lee Martin, and all the way back in the Brawl days in like 2010, and then obviously Sam Sora and Zach, most recently. So it's all, I guess it's pretty interesting. and coming from like your perspective in Lafayette, outside of the now we're in a good spot because at one point we had almost 5 of the top 10 in our power ranking. So you had a concentrated like good group of talent that's there. But I guess before that, it took some time building up that local scene because you had, I guess, like RJ would be 2 hours away from us, right? Or you had like you and Greg Hoodlife, Jordan, whatever he wants to call himself today, and then you had like you had like Sea Falcon in Baton Rouge, and then other players in New Orleans. So that concentration is pretty much spread, amongst the Louisiana coast, effectively. So in terms of trying to, I guess the best way to be able to practice is to build up the local talent. So I guess how were you able to do that, since you're pretty much the best player? You and Greg were the 2 best players, I guess, in the city. So how were you able to go from what we had before, where we didn't have that much concentrated talent, to now we definitely have a lot more? I think our scene's gotten so much better, especially from when I played, and then from when you started and to where we are now.
I mean, honestly, like ever since I have like got to the point where I am in Smash right now, I've definitely made it a point to like I guess work the scene from the ground up. Like one, like being like a TO for my scene, like kind of already gets me to like be welcoming to new people, whatever. But like within the basically for all of Smash Ultimate, because like once Smash Ultimate started, and like once it got a couple months in, that's when I started like really being confident as a player. Like basically like from the beginning, like 2 players in particular that I can think of that like I saw potential in, that like if I help them, like they're my friends, so they'll get better at the game, and then also if they get better at the game, they make everyone else's brackets harder, which makes everyone else better at the game. Was Dynamite and Yam. And I think really like working on like individual people, like in my personal scene, like the Lafayette scene, as well as like my close friends and other scenes, it really worked out because like they later became PR members, and then someone like my friend Kyle, Lieutenant Waffle, practicing with him when I lived in a UL dorm with him. We would practice a lot. He ended up getting state PR, and like John, who at the beginning of Smash, for most of Smash 4 wasn't like a state threat. He ended up getting state PR twice, and me and him play all the time. So I feel like I had to be aware of what difficulties and opportunities my scene had or lacked, and so like with that, I mean I definitely focused on myself, but I guess I focused on myself through helping other people, which like one, it I just like helping my friends, and then 2, like I mentioned, helping my friends helps them, but then also 3, helping my friends gets the whole scene better. So if I lived in like a bigger region or whatever that had a bunch of good players, maybe I'd be able to focus on myself more. But I definitely think like as a community leader and as like one of the good players in the scene, I want to be able to like provide and, like I said, work from the ground up.
I guess moving ahead now and focusing on yourself. How do you prepare for tournaments? How did you start the process of saying like, this is what I want to focus on, this is how I can get better, and then how did you implement that?
I basically like prepare way more now compared to when I did in the Smash 4. I would consider myself a much more like textbook player now and a student of the game. I remember an interaction on Twitter of Shoyo James at the time was his tag. He said something about ultimateframedata.com, and I'm like, is that like the new Kuragane Hammer or something? But I just found out that like it basically like housed all the frame data for like all the different characters, and so I just started studying that. I started going to training mode. I started labbing my character. I started VOD reviewing. VOD review is something that I really never did in Smash 4, but thankfully our local scene started doing instant uploads. Basically, like as soon as after the match would be played at our local stream, it would get uploaded. At least for like the NOLA tournaments. and I would take advantage of that. And that's something I'm super grateful of. Like I didn't realize exactly how much help Vaudeview could have given me, but like after the fact, I'll be writing like documents for like 2 hours on like a single set. um and so I definitely am putting in a lot more like conscious effort as opposed to just like playing the game a lot like I did in Smash 4. Like there's a lot more thinking and deliberation into like that goes on outside the game now that I think is very valuable. That like when I like I guess like have like quote unquote students and I try and like help people and teach people, I definitely like how to drill that into them. Like there are things outside the game that you need to work on and focus on that what vastly help your gameplay as opposed to just like playing mindless hours of friendlies.
Yeah, yeah, it's all. I guess everyone's played like more disciplined now. Like ever since, I guess we had a higher frequency of events. Because I guess dating myself a little bit back in the day, we only had maybe like tournaments once every few months. So it was hard to motivate yourself from that. The nearest like major tournaments we had the Hobo Series in Houston. I've never actually been to one. I've only been to one regional in my entire like competitive career outside of like whenever I stopped playing.
Right.
Well, I started going to more majors once I stopped playing. So, but it's really cool to see just how far everything has, I guess, shifted competitively in Louisiana. So right now you're number 2 in Louisiana. Granted, that I guess this is pre-pandemic ranking.
Right.
Can't really have in-person events. And so how do you track your progress with your goals, especially now that the pandemic is going on? Because I know I guess the most prolific event you went to, or I should say went to, you played online. You got second at Get On My Level, the South qualifier, losing a very close set to Grayson. But outside of that, you've been relatively quiet, I guess, during the Wi-Fi pandemic era. So how are you able to kind of track like your goals of where you're going at right now?
So, at the beginning of the quote unquote Wi-Fi era, I definitely tried to enter Wi-Fi tournaments, but I just realized that like there was, better uses of my time as far as like getting better at Smash, and because like either I would get frustrated with playing Wi-Fi or like it would just not be like the highest quality level of play or whatever, and so I thankfully was like at one point able to play with uh, another top 4 player in the state, Greg or Jordan, whatever he goes by, and we would practice offline a lot. But I also like took the time to lab a lot more, because like I mentioned before, like with 12 hours of traveling a week sometimes alongside the fact that I'm actually going to these weeklies as well as, being in school, a lot of the time that I'm putting into Smash, or just like, into life is like, travel at tournaments or school. And so like, I don't have a lot of like, I guess like alone time for Smash. So I'm getting to like a lab a lot more things now. I'm getting to, Vaudeview a lot more now. So I guess, from like how I've, I guess tracked my progress, I would say I am learning a lot more, as opposed to like, learning, I guess, through playing like I did before. I'm watching a lot more now. Another thing is I am in this grind server. It's called the Ryuga Chord now. It's just high level grind server with all these different good players, and so I'll go in there, and I've used it a couple of times to like learn specific matchups, because I remember at Frostbite 2020, after I was out of bracket and all that, I was doing a bunch of money matches, and I ran into a couple of matchups that like I didn't really know. I won like most of the money matches I did, even if it was unfamiliar matchups. But I was like, wow, like there's like so much I don't know about all these different characters. And so like, I basically just like went into the grind server, and I was just like, I just want to play anyone with a matchup that I don't know. And so like I would just basically like as I'm playing, I would just take a bunch of notes and just like, random matchup specific stuff. So I would say like this level of preparation, or this extent of preparation is better geared towards doing better at majors, which like I definitely made like a conscious effort to like, obviously if/when I end up getting first in Louisiana for like the PR, I'm going to be like happy. And it's going to be, it's going to be cool because it's going to be like, oh, I've worked so hard, whatever. But like, I definitely have made a conscious effort to like stop, quote unquote, like caring about like results in Louisiana and more so focus on like doing better out of state, because like, I guess I know my scope as a player now. Like, I've gone to these majors. I feel like I've like to the very least, I've proved myself to myself that, like I can compete at the highest level. And so, I want to focus on, I'd rather focus on like learning matchups of, of obscure characters or matchups that I don't have in Louisiana, as opposed to learning how to beat, the other top 4 players in my state more consistently.
Yeah, yeah, it's so it's pretty interesting because you have to have the foresight to play for the future almost, because I guess there's really nothing too much at stake right now. So you're able to focus on, I guess, how can I come out of this the best player that I can possibly be, and so you're pretty much just taking, I guess, a short-term hit for right now, to be able to put yourself into a position for the future. What are your expectations then whenever we come out of this pandemic? Obviously, there's going to be a small, I guess, ramp of time. Luckily, we're in, I guess, the second character of the new season for Smash, second DLC character for Smash. So support's still going to go, and hopefully it should definitely continue after the pandemic.
Right.
So what are your expectations whenever the majors come back up? Where do you see yourself, and where do you see like how the landscape is going to be or change?
Well, since the last on event, like offline major, there have been a couple patches. Like you mentioned, like 2 new characters, and so it's definitely gonna be some getting used to for that. But I mean, I really think that it's gonna be clear who practiced during the Wi-Fi era and who didn't, because like, like the current top players are obviously like really good at the game, but like, we've only had a year and a half of like offline events essentially. And so like, they're not that much better than everyone else. Like it's not like the same top 8s are happening every single like major. And so like, there are definitely some players who, I'm sure haven't been practicing as much as others. And like, I get notifications for like the grind server I'm in, and it's basically like the same people that are like asking for games over and over and over again. Like for example, like Tweak asks for games, and they're like all the time. And so like, as opposed to someone like, Samsora, whose like character's like nerfed online, so like he doesn't have as much motivation to practice. And so I definitely feel like at the very least for the first couple months, it's going to show. As for myself, I feel like I've been solidified, at least in my mind and a couple other people's minds, that that would their opinion would matter for this specific thing. That like, I guess I'm one of the better Palus now, and with that confidence, with confidence, will come results, because before I did as well as majors that I did. I wasn't exactly sure where I was skill wise with everyone else, but like now I'm going to be going in like knowing what I can accomplish. And so, with the time that I've spent like learning, various matchups and labbing and whatnot, like I really think that my progression in like majors will be less dependent on like, oops, like I didn't know this obscure matchup, and more so like skill dependent. So I guess I'm excited to see what the future lies, because I think it's going to be vastly different than what we were experiencing major wise like before the pandemic.
Right. It's going to be interesting. I think the first few majors coming out of it are probably going to be like the most fun, because it kind of,
Mhm.
you're pretty much just starting fresh. It's kind of like whenever Ultimate came out and we
Right.
started watching, we were like, oh man, what's going on with this game? These characters seem fun to play. These characters seem like they suck. And then as time goes on, you kind of figure out, like, who knows, for the first few months we might have like the rise of the Min-Mins. They might have just all
Oh
just
no.
might all just dominate with their stretchy arms. So we'll kind of see where that goes.
Mhm.
Next, I kind of want to talk about your crew slash team, Last Stock Gaming. Have to give them a
Mhm.
shout out since you're part of them. I guess kind of talk about the process of getting picked up by a team, like what that kind of entails for Smash, because it's kind of like teams are different, I guess, across like the board, or getting picked up by an org is your mileage like varies, right?
Right.
So kind of talk about it, how that kind of goes for Smash.
Okay, so for me, I was already friends with like the founder or whatever of LSG. His name is Tim. His tag is Moo, and I remember going to a I think it was a C tier PGR event in Texas. It was called Standoff, and I played an LSG player in a bracket. His tag is Cyanide, and I beat him. We had a really close, good set. And then I think for 17th, which is what I ended up getting, I played a Void, who now goes by Rashad, and he was also an LSG player. And we had a super crazy, super last hit set. It was so fun. It was like the most intense set I've played in like such a long time. And I believe Tim was watching, and like we were friends. Like he knows about me. He knows about my attitude towards the game, and he hadn't had a Louisiana player before, and he saw like real potential in me. And so he reached out about like me joining the team, and I was like, whoa, like a team, like my first sponsor with like a bunch of, because I have a bunch of friends in the team, like like Wormy and Cyanide and Rashad, like I mentioned. And so I was like whoa, like I'm actually getting somewhere with this game, because like getting a sponsor to me in Smash 4, like that idea was just like, oh, like that's like so far away, like I don't know if that would ever be, when that's going to be possible for me. But like getting that offer, I was like, wow, like I'm actually getting somewhere. And so like it's much less of like a sponsor to me and more like a like it's like a team, in the sense that like we all treat each other as like family, like we're all really close friends. And so it's not just like, oh yeah, like I don't really talk to this dude on my team, but I know of him. Like no, like we all have a group chat, we all like talk together, whatever. And so it's something like it's obviously not like a tier one kind of sponsor, whatever. It's more like focused on helping us get to majors sometimes. But like for me, like one of my specific like benefits is like like being able to go to Texas events and getting like rides to Texas, like get like my travel paid for and whatnot. And like that really encouraged me, because like we mentioned, Texas has like a bunch of good events, and like so many events so often. So like, and also the practice out there is really good. Like there's so many good players in Texas. And so like it that opportunity just like really encouraged me, because I knew that I could definitely use that to get like even better than before. And then with the prospect of being able to like get help to go to majors, I'm like, wow, like I have, like with this, I have so much more opportunity to like prove myself. And so I definitely think that's like the main thing of sponsors, like benefit for like players. It's just like, at least like if you're not like already like a top level player, like just having more opportunities to prove yourself.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting just to see like that sort of evolution, um, of these sort of sponsorships in Smash. Um, it's kind of cool to see. I see on Twitter a lot, like how people are trying out for like these teams or these crews, I guess. It reminds
Mm-hmm.
me a lot of the All Is Brawl domain days, where you have like, you try to like sign up for this crew to be able to say, like, for just clout almost in a way.
Right.
You're like, oh, I'm part of this group with these guys, uh, and it's it's all, I guess, time is a flat circle. So it's kind of cool to see, uh, like, I guess the level in that interest that like people are trying to build back up and try
Right.
to be able to figure out like how can you engage in a community with everything that's been going on this past half year, or
Hmm.
it's almost gonna be a full year in 3 months. So it's pretty cool to see. Um, so you're graduating with your degree in informatics in a year, right?
Correct. A year. Yeah.
Next December, hopefully.
Mhm.
Don't fail any classes
Yeah.
along the way. Uh, where do you think you'll end up? I guess once you graduate, do you plan on staying in state? Do you plan on, I guess, pursuing, I guess your passion with Smash, trying to take that next or see what that next level is? Obviously, this can be dependent on like the pandemic timing on when you'll be able to compete and offline. But if you get like, where do you see everything going for you? I guess past the next year.
So, ideally, not necessarily realistically, but ideally, I'd be able to like continue doing stuff with Smash. Like, I could like work on a stream or whatnot. But like you said, like it's really dependent on like, how the rest of the pandemic goes. Um, Thankfully, like, I have a year left as far as like, for school that I'm gonna be like, bound to Louisiana regardless to figure things out. But as far as like, if I were to not necessarily like do like a Smash only route, like I can't see a world in which I like stop playing competitive like anytime soon. Like even if I can't like, do it as much or whatever, like if I'm not able to like solely do competitive Smash as like a living alongside like, like streaming obviously, then it would definitely like be something like on the side because like I'm able to handle school alongside Smash, and so like I'll find some way to manage like life after school, like working whatnot alongside Smash. But I don't necessarily, as far as like working for like after getting my informatics degree, I don't necessarily have like a particular desire to go anywhere. So I imagine I can see myself in Louisiana or honestly Texas too. Texas would be nice. Um, but yeah, like I'm not like eager to like, oh, like I'm gonna go to California after I graduate, or I'm gonna go to New York or something like that. It's kind of just like I guess I'll just play it by ear. But I mean, if I can stay here, like I have a bunch of friends here, and I have a bunch of friends in Texas too, so that'd probably be like my preferred options at the moment.
Yeah, it's interesting once I guess you get to a certain part of your life, right? Like everything else starts taking a little bit of priority. Pretty much just that 14 hours of traveling that you do a week, I guess wouldn't fly if you had like a full time job
Right,
in a
right.
way. Um, so it's pretty interesting. I think whenever I was 22, so starting with with Smash, or starting with PM and working on the PM scene and melee scene here in Lafayette. Like some of the older guys, the melee guys, were 28, and now I'm in their position that they're in right
Right.
now. Uh, and I don't really manage my time at all. I don't play Smash anymore, so I'm good old retired. But it's always interesting just trying to see like somebody's perspective that's older, and seeing like, okay, everyone has these different responsibilities, and this is kind of where the run ends. So you always have to hope that somebody younger takes over. And for a while, we didn't know if that was going to be the case. Um,
Right, right.
so I guess it'll be interesting to see 6 years time where that goes. I'll be in my mid 30s, so that'd be great. Uh, be more washed up than I am now. Um, so I guess to conclude, we're at the 30 to 40 minute mark, and hopefully all this audio gets recorded. Uh, we'll see. 50-50 chance on that. So to close out, what are your biggest achievements in Smash, and what are you most proud of?
So honestly, I would say like first like big achievement I was proud of was like solidifying myself as like one of Louisiana's best. I feel like once I I was able to like, like win monthlies, like, consistently, or like, at least like, you know, if I was at a monthly, like you knew I was going to get top 3 whenever, like once I got to that point, I was really proud of myself. And then I would say like towards the beginning of the game, when we went to MomoCon for the CSL event for like the college league thing, and ended up getting 33rd over there, only losing to Mr. E and Samsora, like, 2 like top level players. I was really proud of that. Um, but then like, you know, later on in the game, because like, there are definitely some people that, for reasons, whatever, like might perform like better towards the beginning of the game, and then they might like not necessarily fall off, like maybe their character gets nerfed, so on and so forth, whatever. But I was just glad that like, after getting 33rd at that majors, I didn't fall off. Like at SmashCon 2019, I got 65th. Honestly, I think that was probably my favorite moment of like, I'm like, wow, like, I'm like pretty good at this game now. Like I was so close to making it to like top 64 Sunday. Like I haven't made it to like if an event has been played like for singles for 3 days, I haven't yet made it to that 3rd day yet. But like I keep getting so close. And so I would say like my consistency, because I think that was a big issue I had in Smash 4, was my consistency, is I wouldn't be able to like, I would be able to play at like the upper echelons of play, like at least like, relative to where I was at the time, like sometimes, and then other times I would just like, play so much worse and I would lose. I remember one of my friends, Jonathan, his tag is Champ, he actually graduated from UL recently. He told me, he's like, he basically said like, you had the potential to be like the best player in Louisiana, but it's just like, you're just not consistent with it yet. And like he told me this before I was like considered like one of the better or best people in Louisiana. So I was like, wow, like, if he believes in me, I should be able to believe in myself too. And so, believing in that definitely got me to this point, because now that, and I definitely like my knowledge as a player definitely plays into that. Being a student of the game, if I know like frames are consistent, like, there's not ever going to be any difference with frames. So like, I guess knowing things for a fact, as opposed to playing more based off of like intuition, like I did in Smash 4, led me to this consistency. So I would say, being able to play at a consistent high level that I have, and proving it to myself and other people, at majors, showing people that like Louisiana does have talent. I would say that's probably been my biggest accomplishment thus far.